Thank you very much, Dr. Schuler. It's an honor to have you moderating for us this afternoon, and we appreciate your presence. It's an amazing thing to come into a room that is so diverse, and this is exactly what we are talking about. As we began to listen to our panelists, I was wondering, as each one spoke, they kept on taking away what I wanted to say. So by the third one, I said, what can I say? Reverend Rosemary Bogo said that the most important identifying act of our holiness is that our words match our actions. Powerful. People are tired of hearing folks just talk, but they want to see what we are doing. Dr. Mugini gave us a great understanding and a call for the respect of diverse cultures. And we get to see within Islam that even when living with diverse cultures, one has a responsibility to share under common values of respect. This is beautiful. And Imam Ilasi, what did he do? He ended with a call for us to make a pledge to bring loving kindness and action in all that we do. That's amazing. We all have a common interest, a common goal, different backgrounds, different religions, but a common thread that calls for a people to come together regardless of your background. You know, as communicators, advocates, faith leaders, and peace builders, we know how important it is to talk about peace. But we also understand that it's really hard. Our day-to-day work is filled with tragic stories. You cannot help but watch on the news or read in the newspaper day after day of tragedy after tragedy, conflict after conflict. Violent headlines grab readers' attentions quickly and effectively. But we know from research that crisis fatigue is real. In fact, there are studies that show that people shut down when they're faced with story after story of conflicts. In the United States of America, we are finding more complexities as our nation continues to grow in diversity. And we are now finding ourselves at a place once again from its founding to where we are today, where we must address the conflicts that are often birthed from misunderstandings, ignorance, and even arrogance. And we can only do that by coming together on the basis of shared values. You see, the unique model within our country is our Constitution. We have certain guarantees within the United States Constitution that must be upheld and brought forth and protected when one group of individuals or people attempt to suppress another group. You know, we have what's called the First Amendment, and in the opinion of the founding forefathers of the United States, they said that it was the most important amendment of all of the Bill of Rights. No provision in our Constitution ought to be dearer to man, Thomas Jefferson wrote in 1809, than that which protects the rights of conscience against the enterprises of the civil authority. So here we see the establishment of a new nation and a call to establish protections of individuals by connecting through shared values of each individual, regardless of where they have come from. And that's why the First Amendment reads this way. It states simply, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peacefully to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Now, the First Amendment ultimately reflects the essential fact of a limited government. That power to govern originates not from government, but rather from the people who have been endowed by their Creator with the rights and authority of self-rule. And although the people distribute in America a portion of our power to the various branches of government and to the states, we reserve a most important portion for ourselves. So, thus, for limited government to function properly, the people must have the freedom of conscience to worship God, to express their opinions in speech or in writings, to gather together peacefully, to exchange ideas, and finally to then criticize the government openly and demand the necessary correcting actions. So in essence, what we see in the United States of America is the founders recognize the unscrupulous tendency of centralized government to disregard the people and even to usurp their rights, their authority, and their freedom. Thus, the First Amendment was written to protect the people's governing role and the freedom to carry out their portion of separated governing power. So, when we look at this, and we're sitting in a room here talking about interfaith, shared values, why does religion matter? Why does it matter in a civil society? We find that the reconciling of civil and religious authorities and the creation of a constitutional order that gave freedom to competing religious groups helped develop in America a popular spirit of self-government. All the while, religious congregations, family, and other private associations exercise moral authority that is essential to maintaining limited government. The American founders frequently stated that virtue and religion are essential in maintaining a free society because they preserve the moral conditions of freedom. So we as people of faith, whether it be Christianity, Hinduism, Buddhism, Muslim, Islamism, whatever it is, we all share common values, common principles, that regardless of the religion, we understand that in every major religion that we speak of the sanctity of life. Therefore, I can come together with my brother or sister of any religion when we can stand on that common shared value that life is important and life must be cherished and life must be protected. Today in America, there's a growing confusion about really the proper role of religion in the public square. In the modern efforts to separate the church from the state, it seems that we have also managed to separate civil society from its moral and spiritual underpinnings. As a result, all of our freedoms are being encroached upon by an increasingly overbearing government with power and the rise of a selfish, secular individualism that really defines freedom as the unfettering of every desire to do as I please. This is what we're facing in the United States of America. And as a pastor, as a religious leader, but even as a person of faith, regardless of my titles, I have to speak up. And I cannot just grab all my Christian brothers and say we've got to stand up, because America has become so diverse that just one group is not enough. So I must join the hands of my imam brothers in every other religion and say we as a people must stand up to protect our freedoms. No religion has the right to suppress another religion. So today the government is rapidly moving toward the presumption of an authority to deem what aspect of religious belief will be considered legal and socially appropriate. For example, we've had cases and situations happening in the United States, and not too long ago in Houston, Texas, we had church pastors that were compelled by city officials to submit their sermons to be assessed for evidence of hate speech. And we can cite a growing number of similar examples, nearly every day, of conscious individuals having to stand alone to face the intimidating, crushing power of unconstitutional government. And it is for that reason that what we are doing in the United States is we are trying to bring people together, every citizen, to come together and say we are standing up and standing strong on moral principles, on values that are important to each of us. The sanctity of life, loving my brother and sister. Every major religion requires that. I really respected when the imam gave the pledge and said, look, we must be respectful. We must love one another. And when we're told that even as Islam speaks that if you're in a diverse society, you must respect the other and not push yourself above, because you just might find, as we heard, that you may find another religion that has something that's maybe a little bit better than what you've got. But out of respect, you come together. And so we want to work very hard in the United States to bring that around, because we find that that is important. And so I thank you today, and as the pledge has gone out, I support that pledge. And I ask you to support it with me, with one another. We opened in prayer, but now let's take it and move it into action and say this is how we can come together. Find those great things of shared values that connect us all together, and we can make America and make the world great again. Thank you so much.